Thank you very much, Alaskan Corley. Minister, as you are aware, community childcare facilities, along with childcare accommodation provided by private providers, has transformed childcare provision over the past 20 years throughout the entire country. Were it not for community facilities, there would be areas without childcare provision. Grant aid was very significant, with some projects being funded to a level of more than 1.1 million. Another such scheme, Minister, I believe is needed from the representations coming to me in recent times.
This is an issue you brought to me regularly, and indeed it touches on what Deputy Dillon was talking about earlier on in terms of capacity. So €69 million has been allocated between 2023 and 25 to the early learning and childcare sector under the revised National Development Plan, and this is going to enable significant capital investment in early learning and childcare, and it's across three pillars. There's Pillar 1, which is the Improvement Grant, Pillar 2, which is the Capacity Grant, and Pillar 3, which is the Innovation Grant. So the Improvement Grant was offered this year, that's closed now, and under that pillar €9 million was allocated earlier this year in grants ranging from 35,000 to 75,000 for either energy upgrades or retrofit projects. Work is currently underway in the design and delivery of Pillar 2 and Pillar 3, and they have a combined allocation of €20 million for next year, 2024, and that grows to €40 million in 2025. And the capacity grants will be available to both community and private providers to fund an expansion of existing services in an area of undersupply, and funding will also be provided to support the delivery of new services where they are most needed. The Innovation Grant will pilot a range of innovative initiatives such as outdoor early learning and childcare services. So a working group comprising of officials from my department, representatives from the City and County Childcare Committees and PUBL have been established to oversee the design and delivery of Pillar 2. The group is conducting a needs analysis which will identify areas of unmet need by geographical area and by age cohort as well. And I hope to be in a position to provide more information on the capacity grant in the coming weeks. And in addition to capital funding, and I mentioned this to Deputy Dillon, the mere introduction of core funding has created expansions in terms of capacity, and we've seen that in the 28 million allocated for core funding in year 2, we're allowing for a 3% growth in overall capacity as well. So extra money has been put in there to recognise that by creating core funding, we're going to grow the number of places.
Thank you, Thank you, Minister, for replying. And again, I compliment you on the work that you have been doing over the past 2.5 years in expanding the whole range of supports available for childcare. You know, thankfully, the public finances are in a very healthy state today due to policies that have been implemented over many, many years in building an enterprise economy and growing our exports. I think at this particular time, more and more funding should be devoted to the provision of more and upgraded childcare accommodation. We all know that the greatest resource we have as a country is our young people. We have to ensure that every child, regardless of where they come from, regardless of where they live, that they have access to a modern childcare facility. Minister, I mentioned to you at one stage that I had a number of groups in my own constituency who thankfully, the numbers have outgrown their existing childcare facilities where additional capacity is needed. Now, we are talking about extremely large-scale funding. And I remember very well from my own time in your department and as a public representative over many years, were it not for the community childcare provision, there would be many areas, particularly rural areas, where we would not have childcare provision.
Minister. Thanks, Deputy. And I think you're, in terms of the pillars I announced there, I think you're probably going to be particularly interested in Pillar 2, which is the capacity grant. That's to allow existing services expand and actually build brand new services as well. So I'd hope later on over the summer we'll be in a position to make the announcement for how people can apply this year to draw down in 2024 in terms of the capacity grant pillar 2 of the provision. So there will be an allocation for 2024 and an allocation for 2025 of capital money. So you'll be interested. I know most deputies here will be interested as well. I think the core funding is promoting a growth of allocation, and I think the issues to do with the planning system and the delivery of new services when I suppose significant residential areas are built is also important. Might be a little bit more significant in some more urbanised areas than others, but nevertheless I think it is important in terms of developing and delivering extra capacity.
Thank you, Minister. Again, I'm particularly interested in capacity measure. Minister, I have one particular group, like an instance in my own constituency, where I was involved initially with them getting a childcare facility in that town. I remember people saying to me, Brendan, it'll never be used. We won't have enough children to ensure that that's used to its fullest. Today, thankfully, to one extent, that they are not able to cope with the numbers now, which is a great sign of how satisfied parents are with the quality of the childcare provided, and also the great supports that's given to parents who want to return, particularly mothers, to the workforce. They a very committed, active committee is involved. They are looking at the numbers for the future. They've outlined to me that they would have to leave their present accommodation because of they can't grow it anymore. And we just went through some figures. We're talking about big funding to put a new childcare facility in place. So, Minister, when we have that willingness and that determination of local communities to put in place proper childcare for the local children, we have to ensure that every possible support is given to them, as existed in the past when we had grants of up to 1.2 million available for community childcare facilities. Those facilities have transformed childcare provision in so many communities, and we need to keep repeating that. Thank you, Cahir Lig.
Minister. Thanks, Deputy, and I know this is an area you know particularly well, and as I say, we have brought in those allocations under the NDP. They will be able to be drawn down next year and the following year. I'd like it if the envelope was a bit bigger, so we'll always be pushing to try and grow the capital as well as the current side that we spoke about earlier on, and look, we'll continue to work to grow that, because the figures are big, particularly when you design purpose-built childcare facilities, and we want that more and more, so we're giving the very best to our children. Thanks, Deputy.
Thanks very much.